William McDowell is a famous gospel singer, songwriter, and pastor. His inspirational music and ministry have had a big effect on modern Christian worship. McDowell was born on August 31st, 1976, in Cincinnati, Ohio. His songs like I Give Myself Away have made him a big name in the gospel music industry. His journey is not only one of musical success, but also one of faith, dedication, and a deep connection to the spiritual essence of worship. Withholding Nothing and Spirit Breakout are known all over the world for their powerful messages and deep focus on worship. William McDowell's love of music was clear from a young age. Growing up in a Christian home, he learned about the power of worship and the importance of faith from a young age. His early involvement in church activities had a big impact on his musical journey. As he learned to play the piano and sing better, it became clear that his skills were a gift that should be used for a greater good. McDowell's deep love for worship music led him to follow a path that he combined his musical skills with a deep desire to connect with God. His early experiences leading worship at his local church set the stage for his future career as a gospel artist and worship leader. During these formative years, McDowell's dedication to his craft was clear. He not only improved his skills as a pianist and singer, but he also gained a deep understanding of worship as a spiritual act. In church, it wasn't just about music, it was also about making a space where people could connect with God on a deep level. This understanding would later drive William McDowell's music career and ministry. In pursuit of his calling, he eventually moved to Orlando, Florida, where his journey as a worship leader took on a new dimension. Orlando became a pivotal place in his life. As McDowell started leading worship services and sharing his love for making worship experiences that were real and life-changing, he was able to shape the spiritual atmosphere of his church community by leading people in honest expressions of their faith. As he continued to lead worship, he became more well known for making a strong connection between the music and the worshipers. His leadership was marked by a deep commitment to authenticity and a desire to see lives changed through the presence of God. His time in Orlando was a pivotal moment in his development as he honed his skills in both music and ministry, laying the groundwork for what would become a monumental breakthrough in his career. William McDowell's big break came in 2009 when his live worship album As We Worship Live came out. This album was a turning point in his career, putting him in the spotlight of the gospel music scene. As We Worship Live wasn't just another collection of the songs on the album were recorded live and showed how spontaneous and heartfelt McDowell's music is. The album had the hit song I Give Myself Away, which quickly became an anthem in Christian worship services all over the world. The lyrics of the song were about giving up and trusting God. Devotion to God moved people to give their whole lives to their faith. The sincerity of McDowell's worship and the raw emotion he showed on stage made me give myself away to a timeless piece that still speaks to believers. The release of As We Worship Live was a big deal for the modern Christian worship movement. The album's live recording style captured the energy, passion, and communal spirit of worship that McDowell was known for, making it a powerful way to lead people into deeper spiritual experiences. The album's effects went far beyond the church, reaching a global audience hungry for real and transformative worship. Songs like I Give Myself Away became staples in churches and inspired a new generation of worship leaders to follow a similar path of real worship. The album's success solidified. William McDowell was a leading voice in gospel music, which gave him the chance to have an impact on worship culture around the world. His ability to combine heartfelt lyrics with soulful melodies made for a sound that was both modern and deeply rooted in the tradition of gospel music. McDowell's ability to make music that transcends. He has been able to reach a wide range of people, because he doesn't care about religion or culture. His songs are still sung in churches and worship gatherings around the world, encouraging people to get closer to God through worship. His legacy is not just the songs he wrote, but also the many lives he has touched by his commitment to leading others into a deeper relationship with their faith. In 2011, William McDowell released his second full-length album, Arise, which became a turning point in his career. Arise was more than just a collection of songs, it was a call to spiritual awakening and revival in the church. With songs like I Won't Go Back, McDowell encouraged listeners to fully commit to God and to experience a personal transformation through worship. The songs on this album focus on themes of renewal, dedication, and the power of God's presence in the life of a believer. Arise was recorded live, which gave the album an authentic and spontaneous energy that made listeners feel like they were part of a communal worship experience. This style set McDowell apart from many other gospel artists. Arise had a huge impact on church congregations around the world, becoming a staple in worship services. The album's message of transformation and revival inspired many people to seek a deeper relationship with God, solidifying McDowell's reputation as a leader in contemporary Christian worship. Following the success of Arise, William McDowell released Withholding in 2013. This album continued his tradition of live worship recordings, providing a powerful and unfiltered worship experience that resonated deeply with believers. The title track, Withholding Nothing, became an anthem of surrender and devotion, encouraging listeners to give their all to God without holding back. The album's themes were centered around complete dedication and the willingness to let go of anything that might get in the way of a person's relationship with God should be avoided at all costs. Songs like My Heart Sings and I Surrender sent a strong message of being humble and submitting to God's will. McDowell's ability to turn these spiritual ideas into moving lyrics and melodies made Withholding Nothing one of his best albums. The live recording process let him capture the heartfelt cries of worshipers, creating a sense of unity and collective adoration that made the album unique. This style made listeners feel like they were in a real church service where they could experience God's presence in a deep way. It showed off McDowell's skill as a worship leader and his desire to lead others into a deep spiritual connection with God. In 2016, William McDowell released Sounds of Revival, an album that was more than just a collection of worship songs. It was a declaration of a global revival. Revival was meant to spark a new love for worship and encourage believers to seek a fresh outpouring of God's Spirit. With songs like Spirit Breakout, McDowell wanted to make a sound that would connect with the heart of the church and start a movement of revival across nations. Sounds of Revival was another live recording that captured the essence of McDowell's worship services. Fans had a real spiritual experience thanks to the album's high energy and spontaneous worship moments. McDowell's focus on making a space where the Holy Spirit could move freely was clear as he led worshipers into a deeper level of praise and adoration. The songs on Sounds of Revival were known for their strong statements of faith and their focus on the transformative power of to change the atmosphere of worship and encourage people to believe in the possibility of a spiritual revival that could change their lives and communities. The album became a source of hope and encouragement for believers around the world, reinforcing the idea that revival starts in the heart of every worshiper. One thing that makes William McDowell's music stand out is his dedication to the live. McDowell's live recordings are all about capturing the spirit of the moment, unlike studio albums that focus on perfection and polish. This recording style allows for spontaneous expressions of worship, giving the music an organic and heartfelt quality that resonates with listeners. The energy and passion that McDowell brings to his live performances can be felt in his recordings. Create a worship experience that feels both personal and powerful. He knows that leading a congregation in praise and worship is more than just singing songs, it's about leading people into a relationship with God. Because he is honest and open, his albums are very popular in churches, where they are used to lead worship services and make the atmosphere praiseworthy. Revival sounds have had a lasting effect on the global worship movement, and William McDowell's music continues to encourage worship leaders, church communities, and individual believers to seek a deeper relationship with God. Each album, with its mix of anthems and heartfelt expressions of faith, has become a cornerstone in the world of contemporary gospel music. He is the founder and senior pastor of Deeper Fellowship Church in Orlando, Florida. His ministry has had a big effect on the Christian community. The church is known for focusing on deep spiritual experiences, powerful prayer, and a culture of real worship. His leadership at Deeper Fellowship Church shows his dedication to making a place where people can experience God's presence in profound and life-changing ways. William McDowell started Deeper Fellowship Church in Orlando, Florida, with a clear vision to create a spiritual home where believers could experience a deeper relationship with God through worship and prayer. The church grew out of McDowell's desire to lead a community that valued authentic worship and the search for God's presence. As a worship leader, McDowell had already changed many people's lives with his music, but he wanted to give his congregation a consistent place to grow spiritually and be changed. The church's mission is centered on creating a space where people can have a personal encounter with God. McDowell's leadership stresses how important it is to make a place where people from all walks of life can gather for worship, prayer, and fellowship. His approach to ministry is deeply rooted in his belief that God's presence has the power to change lives, heal brokenness, and inspire people. Deeper Fellowship Church is known for focusing on giving its members deep spiritual experiences. Under the leadership of William McDowell, the church has become famous for its dynamic worship services that go beyond traditional practices and instead focus on personal encounters with God. These services often include extended times of worship, spontaneous prayer, and prophetic moments that encourage. McDowell's approach to worship in his church is honest, heartfelt, and open to the movement of the Spirit. Like his music, he believes that worship is more than just singing, it's a way of life that involves a constant search for God's presence. This belief is clear in the way that Deeper Fellowship Church structures its services, putting an emphasis on moments that allow the congregation to experience God's love and power in real ways. The church focuses on deep spiritual EXP. A focus on spiritual depth has made Deeper Fellowship Church stand out from many other churches, making it a beacon for people who want a closer, more intimate relationship with God. Prayer is at the heart of Deeper Fellowship Church's ministry, and William McDowell has helped many people find a way to connect with God in a deeper and more meaningful way. McDowell has made prayer an important part of everything the church does because he believes it is the key to unlocking the supernatural power of God in the lives of believers and is necessary for personal growth and spiritual breakthrough. The church holds regular prayer meetings, intercessory sessions, and prayer-focused events to give people the tools they need to pray with faith and expectation. Guidance Deeper Fellowship Church has turned prayer into a way of life. The church encourages its members to pray fervently every day because they believe it can change their personal lives and the lives of others. McDowell often leads these prayer sessions by showing how to live a life dedicated to seeking God's will and direction through communication with the divine. The focus on prayer has brought the church community together. People in the Deeper Fellowship Church are urged to pray for each other, help each other on their spiritual journeys, and pray for the needs of the world. This way of praying together has not only made the bonds between people but he has also encouraged kindness and service, encouraging the audience to be involved in God's work on earth. Worship is at the heart of Deeper Fellowship Church, and William McDowell has made it the center of the church's ministry. He is known for having been a McDowell is a gospel singer and worship leader who has made his love for worship an important part of the church's identity. Services at Deeper Fellowship Church are marked by lively, spirit-led worship that makes people feel free to express their love and devotion to God. McDowell's influence as a worship leader is clear in the way the church's worship team leads the congregation in worship. Church is more than just music, it's an experience that invites people to enter into God's presence with all their hearts. During worship, people often sing both new Christian music and songs that McDowell has written that deal with themes of giving up and trusting God. As the senior pastor of Deeper Fellowship Church, William McDowell is very important to the spiritual growth of the congregation. His leadership is based on a strong dedication to teaching biblical principles, encouraging spiritual growth, and creating a culture of discipleship. Many of McDowell's sermons are about faith revival and the power of God's presence in a believer's life. He encourages his congregation to live out their faith with purpose and passion. McDowell is more than just a pastor, he is a mentor and spiritual father to many people in his church community. William McDowell is a famous gospel singer, songwriter, and pastor who connects with his congregation on a personal level and encourages them to grow in their spiritual walk. His pastoral care goes beyond the pulpit, as he actively seeks to nurture and support the individual needs of his church members. His public persona is one of unwavering faith and dedication to leading others in worship, but like many people in his position, he has probably faced personal problems that aren't widely known. For example, details of tragic events in McDowell's life may not be made public, but the nature of his job as a spiritual leader suggests that he has likely faced problems that people in ministry face all the time. The hardest thing for famous ministers like William McDowell is keeping their public and private lives in balance. As a pastor and worship leader, McDowell is expected to be a good example of faith, morals, and leadership. It can be hard to keep up a perfect public image when you're going through personal problems and trials. Balancing these roles can be very hard. Leaders like McDowell have to constantly manage their time and energy between their public duties and their private lives. The demands of ministry are also hard. Sacrificing personal goals, family time, or self-care is common for people in this position. Leaders must also find ways to grow spiritually while guiding others, which is a very difficult task that requires a lot of dedication and inner strength. This balancing act is made even harder when leaders are expected to be available to their congregation all the time and are often asked to give spiritual advice. People look to William McDowell for guidance and support, even when he is going through personal problems. He is able to do all of these things while still inspiring people through his music and sermons. This shows how much he relies on his faith and how committed he is to his calling, even though it means making personal sacrifices. As a gospel artist and a pastor, his fans expect him to live up to very high standards of spiritual and moral behavior. People look up to him for advice, inspiration, and an example of how to live a godly life. This level of expectation can be hard to handle because there isn't much room for error or being seen as weak in the eyes of the public. The pressure to meet these expectations can be very stressful for leaders like McDowell, who are expected to consistently produce impactful worship music, deliver powerful sermons, and lead their congregation with unwavering faith, while also dealing with their own emotions and personal problems. This constant demand for excellence can take a toll on their mental and emotional health, leading to times of doubt and even burnout.